Espanola is the island that is the most south here in the archipelago, and it's estimated to be one of the oldest. And I'm very excited because there are two particular species that I'm looking forward to seeing, both of which are endemic to this island alone. There is another Galapagos sea lion, and there are actually a few up here on the beach. This one is having a ball in the water, rolling around in the waves. They are super playful and inquisitive creatures. But look at these guys on the beach. They just keep diving on top of one another and then trying to push each other and roll each other away so that they can lie in the middle. I'm not entirely sure why. And here's the hood mockingbird. It's also the Espanola mockingbird. It's got two names. Look at it catching the flies on the sea lion's back. They're super inquisitive. I mean, they don't have too many predators here on the island, so they love coming up and looking for shiny things. But it looks like the male sea lion is making his way out of the water. Look at how he greets that other sea lion. It almost looks like they're kissing. And now, I mean, touch for sea lions is super important. It helps to just strengthen their social bonds. And, I mean, I presume that it's just enjoyable, I guess. Which is maybe why this one's trying to clamber in between the two. Goodness, they are funny creatures. The sounds are incredible, though. And there's a mockingbird trying to eat flies off of a little pup. Look at all the flies on that sea lion pup's eyes. Is it going to get them? It's going to grab them off the sea lion's eyes. And there's a marine iguana in the background. What? Oh my goodness. 3 different species all at the same time. Now there's 2 mockingbirds. This poor sea lion. It must be very irritating to have the flies, to be fair. But I wonder if it's just as irritating to have those mockingbirds picking at you all the time. Oh, sorry, little buddy. And I love how the iguana is just relaxed in the background, not even paying attention to what's going on. But I did read something interesting the other day when I was looking up a little bit more about these mockingbirds, and I discovered that they have a unique relationship with the marine iguanas that I didn't know about, where they will actually alarm call, and the marine iguanas, who don't vocalize at all, have actually discovered that sound of the alarm call. So when they hear the mockingbird's alarm call, they become super alert and ready to dive into the ocean, which is not like what you see here. What you see here is them lounging about and sneezing a lot of the time. They're just trying to be in the sunshine for now. But that sneeze is actually them desalinating. They actually filter the water through their blood. Basically, the salt then collects in their nostrils and these special glands in their nose and forms salt crystals around their nostrils. And that sneezing is them basically blowing the salt crystals out of their nose. And also, they are such beautiful colors. They've just finished their breeding season at the moment, so they're not all super colorful, but there are a couple resting on the rocks that are these beautiful red and almost like a turquoisey green sort of color. And Franklin tells me that these marine iguanas here, there's different subspecies across the different islands in the Galapagos, but specifically here on Espanola, these marine iguanas are the most colorful and the brightest that you'll find on any of the islands here. And to top it all off, there's a little yellow warbler bouncing around on the rocks. Probably just looking for the flies, exactly like those mockingbirds were doing. Oh, it's such a beautiful place. I think this is my favorite island by far.
See what this guy's whistling. This guy's making the whistle of males calling the females. Getting ready for nesting.
And here are some Nazca boobies. A bit different to the other booby species we've been seeing. Specifically, we've focused on the blue-footed boobies. We've seen a couple of red-footed boobies on the cliff faces. But this looks to be a nesting colony of Nazca boobies. So this is the third species that we get here. Oh, seems to be a bit of a rally going on here. Lots of wing flapping. But because some of them are nesting, I think some of them are breeding as well. There's that whistling that you can hear, and sometimes they raise their wings and they point their heads towards the sky. That is their way of attracting mates. It's basically the male calling for females and advertising himself. And if a female finds him attractive, she'll come and join in. And then he'll start bringing her little presents. Little sticks, maybe a stone, maybe a funny shaped seed pod that he finds. It's very sweet, actually. And that's when you know that they've bonded and they're ready to mate and have chicks of their own. And they're the waved albatrosses. This has been a bucket list bird for me for so long. I've been dying to come here and see these birds in person. There are just albatrosses everywhere. There's chicks all over the pathways, and this isn't normal. A lot of the time adult albatrosses are out to sea and they only come back here to breed. They don't really stick around for too long, and once the chicks fledge, they're out to sea for several years before they come back and find a partner to mate with and breed. So this, I think, is a very lucky sight to see. And this is the 6th largest albatross species in the world. And they're pretty big. When I'm sitting down here on the floor, this albatross that's walking around here is almost as tall as I am. And they have a wingspan of about 2.5 meters. They are massive. Oh, and look at these two. It looks like there's a courtship ritual going on. Oh, no way. Look at the head bobbing. Some bill snapping going on there from the one at the back. And now it's waddling over. And there's a chick here as well. That's weird. I'm assuming it's not their chick because it's quite large, and if they're doing a courtship ritual, I doubt they would already have a chick. Oh, that's definitely not their chick. Big snap there. Oh, and another one. If they're doing a courtship ritual, it's definitely not theirs, because that chick looks like it's still pretty dependent on its parents to bring back some food. It's still got a lot of downy plumage on it. But look at how they're circling it. What on earth? Oh, look at the bill clacking. So this is a really common behavior when doing this courtship ritual. There's bill snapping, they clack their beaks together, almost like they're sword fighting in a way. And they do that very wobbly sort of dance where they bob their heads from side to side and they pull their bill down towards their chest as they walk. Oh, this is amazing! I can't believe that I'm seeing this. That chick is not happy. Don't blame it. I wouldn't like them walking around me the whole time either.
Oh.
being as large as they are, I mean, these albatross don't really have many predators around, at least not on the island itself. And typically during the day, they're not moving around. So this is incredible to see how active they're being. I mean, obviously there's a purpose to it. Gosh, that is strange. It's incredible, but I've never seen birds do this. But when they're not here breeding on the island, they are out to sea. They can spend years out to sea before coming back to breed. But generally, when they're breeding, they spend the day on the island, and then at night they actually head out and feed majority of the time. They do feed during the day as well. It's not that they are nocturnal. But the reason they tend to feed more at night is because the main part of their diet is squid. And squid often come up to the surface of the ocean at night to breed. And so that's when these albatross are likely to catch them more easily. This chick is so unhappy. I mean, it's hard to know how long this will go on for, because they could go on for hours if they're a newly bonded pair. We don't know. If they're a pair that have been together for a very long time, it may take a short amount of time. But otherwise it could go on for several hours. Well, I could honestly spend the rest of my life on this island, but it's time to get ready for another snorkeling adventure. First though, we found some dolphins. Oh my gosh, this day could not get any better. There must be hundreds of dolphins here. Now these are bottlenose dolphins, and they can form pods of hundreds of individuals. However, it could also be 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 separate pods coming together and fishing here in this section of the ocean and following the boat, because the boat is actually disturbing all sorts of sea life beneath it, and so that's why these dolphins are following along. But there must be, I mean, easily 300 to 400 dolphins here. It's crazy. Unfortunately, they were a bit too fast for us. So we're just going to have to see what else is below the waves. Lots of yellow-tailed surgeon, all coming and nibbling the algae off of the rocks. There's a parrotfish as well in between. There's a couple of other species. There's a little black fish there, but I'm not sure exactly what they are. Some king angelfish in the background. Those are the very dark ones with the orange tips to the tail. And if you look closely, if you can get up close, they have actually a blue line that runs across. I love spending time in this water. It's actually really warm. There are 3 currents that flow between the different islands in the Galapagos. 2 of them are cold currents, 1 of them is a warm current. And when they converge, because of the cold currents bringing an upwell of nutrients and the warm current then providing, once integrated with the cold current, an optimal environment for things like coral to grow, it's actually creating these really biodiverse reefs. On the islands themselves, this is still all volcanic rocks that you're looking at beneath the surface, with algae and coral and all sorts of things hidden in amongst them. It's always fun to see what kind of creatures you can come across here, because the visibility at the moment is not the greatest. It's probably at about 70-75%. Oh, look at this. It looks like a type of needlefish. Very long, massively long snout. Wow. There's a king angel and a yellowtail surgeon. But as I was saying, the visibility here is only about 70%, 75% today, which is still really good. But the sand has basically been churned up and created this murky look to the water. And so sometimes things might surprise you. And we're looking here at these mounds of sand because sometimes things like rays actually hide beneath them. So you have to look really, really carefully to make sure that you're not swimming over the top of them. Speaking of which, do you see that tail there? Oh, it's a diamond ray. How gorgeous. Not the most colourful of rays, but probably one of the most common here. And often hiding in the sand waiting for things like clams, maybe crabs to come through. They do eat the occasional fish, but not so much. It's mainly things like clams that they're waiting for. Things like sea turtles as well will actually wedge themselves beneath rocks so that they can sleep, because believe it or not, they sleep underwater. Which is something I didn't really know before I came here and before I started doing research coming into these islands. Oh, and look at the sea star. There's a sea star on this rock. And this one in particular is known as a chocolate chip sea star. Something I'll never forget because of the little nodules that you can see on the top. Oh, the creatures here are just so beautiful. It's so different to what I know back in South Africa. I also want to keep a lookout just to make sure I'm not being snuck up on by maybe a shark or two. There's many different species of sharks out here. Oh, and there's a sea turtle! I didn't actually expect to see one under the rocks. Wow! It's a sleeping sea turtle. So as I was saying earlier, they wedge themselves under the rocks to sleep. And the reason they wedge themselves is so that they don't float up to the surface. How incredible is that? Wow. I'm not sure what species of turtle it is. Can't really see the head. But it doesn't look like a green turtle to me. I'll have to ask Franklin a little bit later. This place is just the most magical I've ever experienced. But it is time to move on to our next island and some more adventures here in the Galapagos. And I cannot wait to see what those adventures hold. But I think Espanola will hold a very special place in my heart.